Hello, Jenny Schäpper. You are in Switzerland. You are the co-founder of Village Office, which is a network of co-working space in Switzerland, mainly in rural and remote areas in Switzerland. You have this idea of developing the principle of you should find a co-working space 15 minutes away from your home. So and the idea is really to spread co-working and the possibility to work from co-working space all across Switzerland quite soon. There was two big announcements you just made. You made an agreement with the Swiss Railway for between 60 and 80 railway stations where co-working location managed or supervised by Village Office could be operating in order to develop this principle and this idea of making co-working available anywhere in Switzerland. And second, you just got a big support from the Swiss federal government, which there is consensus, as you said, to have 100,000 seats available in co-working space in Switzerland in a certain time, let's say, and you will tell us about that. But first of all, can you just quickly introduce us to Village Office and what it's about in Switzerland?
Happy to. Coworking Switzerland Village Office is a cooperative that aims to develop regional co-working spaces together with municipalities to develop community-based spaces there where people live and to reduce the commuting of the knowledge workers, so all the workers that could work out of co-working space, and to prevent they're stuck in the home offices or always have to do that trajet, that distance. And we were founded in 2016. Me coming from the co-working side, so I run my own co-working space in a small city outside of or in between Zurich and St. Gallen. And my other partners came from were those commuters that always had to go to the corporate offices. And so we shared the different pains of the same story.
So now it's, as we said, 72 locations, which are part of the network. So who are the users? Are there still typical co-working users, freelancers, small startups, or you see more and more employees from companies, civil servants maybe?
We do see the main chunk of coworkers are still the freelancers or part-time independents, but we are seeing that more and more companies and even government agencies are willing and accepting to allow their employees to flex work, also to be for employee attractiveness. One of the larger clients is the federal IT department, and there it's definitely up to now all those employees had to commute to Bern wherever they were, and with the demographic change there not enough capable or qualified employees within that radius that are willing to commute, and they offer since last summer co-working to all of their employees. And we're seeing because of the demographic shift of the baby boomers retiring and the younger workers not willing to give up their flexibility, that now there's already a willingness, even before Corona, to look at those aspects. And so our clients are companies that are willing to have a cultural shift and willing to trust their employees to work flexibly.
And do the users, the civil servant from this IT department now use the co-working spaces, or for the moment there is still exploration, and do they catch the model?
There's definitely exploration. There's a lot of communication. I mean, it's a large, they have 1,200 employees, and it definitely needs to be communicated even better what the offering is. Right now, it's still at a very small population of the company that actually co-works. But we were just already happy about the signal that they were willing to send from top down. But it didn't arrive at everybody. I think people are there has to be more of a cultural shift, and also coaching that these employees who used to have to be present, that they're allowed to, and what does that mean?
Is there specific actions to do for that? Is it you who have to communicate about that and coach them, or is it more the IT department or maybe the human resource department, which has to say, okay, guys, now you don't have to be present in the office. You can work from your 15 minutes location, 15 minutes away locations. How does it work?
It's definitely, we have the competency to coach those employees, and we're expanding our offering so that we can help the companies who already say we're willing, we're open for flexible work and co-working, that we help them also find the right spaces and also introduce their employees into the culture of co-working. What does it mean? What's the etiquette? How do you introduce yourself? A lot of these people have always been within their own company culture, and help them ease into the co-working world.
And why do you see the friction point for the moment? Is it more in the mind of the people who are not used to it, or do you fear something? Is it just because the COVID came and at the moment it froze a little bit everything?
Well, before Corona, it was more of, okay, you can work flexibly, but we still expect you to be in to say one thing, expect the other.
Ambiguous.
Yes, it was. And now it's been a month since we no longer had the hashtag stay at home, where all the co-working spaces in Switzerland, we still stayed quiet. Yeah. Existing fixed workers were free to co-work, but no new co-workers came. And now it's on us to communicate that, okay, get out of that home office, cut the lines between, or make the lines between private and business clearer, and to do the whole work life, optimize the work life, and also not to have to commute in in public transportation, where we still, not everywhere you can't keep those distances between the other passengers, and so it's also a safety issue. But that communication just really has to get rolling now.
And when a village office does a deal or as an agreement with a department like this IT department, does the IT department pays you a subscription that you redistribute to the spaces according to the usage? How does it work? What's the model there?
The employees, they have a membership, a village office membership, that they can go to any of these 72 spaces within our network. All of these spaces, they're partners. They are also cooperative members, so they're a part of also the way we work together. And they check in, and then we redistribute the charges then to the co-working spaces.
According
so they check in on our platform.
Okay, and the unused time or money is kept by village office and redistributed between cooperators then after. Is it?
They have some companies like the Federal Department of IT. They have a co-working on demand. So they have a base membership, and then they only pay the effective co-working days that their employees work. So they have access, but they're not. Doesn't really create costs unless they're really co-working.
Okay. Now about this deal with the railway company, which is said it's one of the most effective railway company in the world. I think it's true. What is within? What's the content of that agreement? And why does it make sense to make that railway station enabled for co-working?
Well, a lot of the regional railway stations in Switzerland no longer have the same purpose as they used to. It used to be to sell tickets, to inform passengers of timetables, and everything is digitalized. So we have these great train stations that are centrally located, but some are abandoned, and some just have kiosks in them. And the idea is to reactivate the local usage, so that it's not just a point of departure, but it's also a meeting point again, a new marketplace. This could also be with at post offices that close. We have this agreement with the train stations now to reactivate their regions, and they also have an interest because they're also federally funded, partly federally funded. They also have an aspect that's not just get returns on investment directly, but also to give back to the Swiss population and to do something for the region. So it's not just Zurich centric or Geneva centric, but the decentralized history or tradition in Switzerland is very strong, and to give back some of that activity to the regions. So, and we always we don't just work with the railway stations, but we also work again with the local municipalities and the local population, so that it becomes something that's embedded in that community, and not just a cookie cutter franchise that looks the same wherever you go.
Okay, and so what does it mean for you? It means that you are going to equip those railway station as village office. Is it will it be operated as under the name village office, or are you going to deal and partner up with your members who are on the local spots just to open up a new section or a new location for the activity? What's the idea behind it?
Well, first we have to get a better idea of where are the possibilities? What do those train stations look like? Where are they? How big are they? We're still not clear as to how big the square footage or square meters in every location. So we first have to see if is location X from size-wise, can we do an interesting co-working offering there? Then we go into contact with the municipality. Is there energy from the local population and the local company enterprises to activate something there? Because without that, it's not going to fly. And we never go into a location where we have a current or an existing partner without tying that partner in. So we would not cannibalize any of our partners, because they're like family. They're part of the cooperative. That'd be counterproductive. So we want to take the energy that is already there, if it's one of those locations, and create new energy and new communities. And it's co-working plus. So it's co-working plus what else could that community need? Maybe it's a lunch offering, a cross-generational meetup, daycare, medical center, health club, organic marketplace. And there we're also partnering with companies that want to have a local offering and solidify that local offering. So it's always co-working plus we're creating local ecosystems.
Okay, so what about as we discussed about the companies who are looking for one service or one subscription to access all those multi-locations? We know they have standards or expectations. They not necessarily take into account either the well-being of the employee or the fact that they're fun or they find meaning, but more, is the distance between the desk and height of the desk good enough according to the regulation? Is the hair renewed? More practical stuff like that, which has more to do with the facility. How do I handle that? How do you communicate with them in order for them to open their mind and say, okay, listen also to your employees who wants to work from there?
Well, the quality of the space is growing more and more important. So that professionalization, the ergonomics of the workplace, the whole environment, the air that you mentioned, that's a new baseline. So it's not just we're not just occupying space and giving access to it. Corporates have their requirements, and our aim is to at least reach those requirements, if not better, because we're already reducing the commuting as well. But that's a given. These have to be professional spaces, and that's why we are working on a cooperative model. You could also call it a social franchise model, but not to be confused with a capitalistic franchise model, where we create a catalog of guidelines, help our knowledge of how to operate a co-working space, and couple that with local communities, so that the wheel doesn't have to be reinvented each time, but we're not operating. Those are then our member spaces. And whether they have Village Office in their name, or if they're powered by Village Office, or what the brand's going to be, that's still up in the air. Because up to now, the communities that we've helped develop, they all develop this entrepreneurial spirit and want to give their project their own name. And we totally understand that and want to respect that. And so that's where we're also going to the finding phase, where we can give the quality assurance to our customers, but allow the characteristics, or the character freedom,
and the story and the networks that has been built around the initial project. And so what you were saying, social franchise, is very interesting as a concept. It reminds us, we had in the podcast Impact of Vienna a few days ago, and they were telling also about how, okay, of course, those spaces are using the Impact Up name as their brand name, but what you are explaining, it was also similar to us. They were explaining in order to be as supportive and give some of the elements, but indeed every location has its own way to be ran and to operate, but be part of this bigger family.
Exactly, and the impact hub model is also not a franchise as we would otherwise know it, or as I have known up to now. So it's rethinking how we can collaborate and share knowledge, but help everybody move forward.
Let's switch to the other big news that's super fresh. So you, as Village Office, you're also a member of the Switzerland Coworking Switzerland Association. Coworking Switzerland is the name, and you just announced that the Swiss federal government committed to support, or we don't know how exactly yet, but to support the development of 100,000 new seats coworking spaces across Switzerland. This is huge. It's like I don't know what's the population of Switzerland now. It's like 8 million, something like that.
Yeah, 8.5 million. We're not there yet. We the members of we got 7 members of parliament, each from a different each of the 7 represented parties entered a motion into parliament, or a postulate, and that means that they request feedback or a response from the executive government, or the executive body of the Swiss government, and they have 2 years to give us an answer. But the fact alone that Coworking Switzerland was able to get a representative from every party, that they entered that motion on the same day, and after this Corona phase, it is monumental. We have yet to see if they will support co-working. We're not there yet, but we've started the dialogue.
Okay. What about, we spoke about the how, which you say you're still in dialoguing with those guys, but we know that sometimes governments who try to support co-working spaces have not always been effective with it. So sometimes it was more like marketing and not necessarily something which was followed up with a strong enough commitment, or with everything which was needed. Wasn't necessarily there to make it sustainable without just with the grant or subsidy. But overall, there has been good success and less good success. How do you see that? How do you figure out to avoid those traps that sometimes are there when government or authorities try to support co-working initiatives? And do you have already a clear idea about that, or about it?
Well, similar to, we're thinking along the lines, or hoping that it goes along the lines of a public-private partnership, that a co-working space is run by a town itself, is not the idea. It's to help get to be the initial catalyst, and to support with easier access to certain buildings if it's not at the railway station, or to facilitate with less regulation, or also to help communicate locally. If a local government wants to support financially, I think it's more of the at the very beginning, until the offerings, the population is aware of the offering. It's not like in the cities where it can soon turn into a cash cow when because there's just a lot more traffic. The regional spaces will never have the same kind of traffic as urban spaces do, and they're similar to a library, which is subsidized but also has to prove its they have to have balanced books at the end of the day. We're thinking along those lines, so that they're helped initially, but they're not running the spaces themselves. And we activate local businesses and the local population to actually help also with the usage. And everybody, it's a win-win-win. And so everybody should also pay their share. So it's a shared cost.
Yes, because you mentioned professionalism and the need to make it more professional. That's often one of the reason why those initiatives failed or didn't work as well as we expected, is because yes, the place was there were nice furniture, but the service was terrible. The people were not trained to be hospital and run it in a good enough commercial way, whereas even if you are a freelancer or any kind of user or employee, you expect a certain reactiveness to some requests and some standards. So do you think that's indeed where it could be one of the success factor, that if they understand indeed the need for more professionalism, but also to address with the hospitality need that is required for that kind of environment, then it can be successful, despite the other purpose than just making a profit.
I think that's really bringing together. That's the secret sauce, bringing together the hospitality, but like the individual desire to have a really great welcoming community, and on top of the professionalism. And I think that's where a lot of business centers stumble, because it's just the revenue is in the forefront, and in the regional spaces there's a lot more reasons why there's to support local co-working, because of location attractiveness, that more people will live in the regions, they'll stay in the regions. If they don't commute away, they'll be spending more money at the local businesses. They'll have more time to engage in political activities, or more time for work-life balance. And those are fringe benefits that don't really have to do with the operation of a co-working space itself, but it's reasons why municipalities and local governments or regions would want to support or should support co-working, because it has also an effect in it delays investments in infrastructure, more trains, wider highways. If that can be delayed and you can reduce the environmental impact as well, that's a different calculation, and it's not just on how many co-workers are checking in every day. Brilliant.
Good. Fantastic. Okay, Jenny, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and the initiative. With a lot of success. I think it's very inspiring for a lot of players in the co-working scene. Wish you the best.
Thank you for your interest.
And hope to see you maybe in Vienna. Who knows?
Who knows? We'll see what the fall brings.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks, Johnny.